This one's, I can barely.
morning, we just ask that you'd be with us in the meeting today, Lord, that your will would be done here. Lord, we'd ask that you'd look over our county citizens, Lord, who still are going through this time of COVID, Lord, and just be with them, Lord. And those who are ill, Lord, that you hold their hand and just be their power, Lord. Lord, we'd ask for you to be with our commissioners today, that they would do the work for the people today, that would honor our county, Lord. All this we'd ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
I'll make a motion to approve our minutes.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Payroll sheets. And bills. 2 sheets for Danny to sign right now. I'll make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $284,378.51.
Second. Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
I have another thing I need to get taken care of today. The KAC is not having an in-person annual meeting this year, which I think you all knew that. They are doing a virtual meeting on October 14th, and then there's also, I think, another class on the 13th. With that, K-Ward and K-Camp always have their annual meetings, so they are going to be virtual meetings also on the 14th. And I need to have voting delegate and alternate assigned for KAC, K-Camp, and K-Work. In order to be the delegate for the K-Camp and K-Work meeting, you have to sign up for the KAC meeting, which there's no cost, it's just a form online. I didn't know if any of you were planning on doing that online that day. I will be there because I'm president of K-Camp again this year, and I have to run that meeting, so if you want me to do it, I would be happy to, and I've already signed up for the KAC meeting.
I'll make a motion that we delegate David for our delegate for K-Camp.
Is it for all three, David?
For all three would be fine if you want to do that.
You want to amend your motion?
I'll amend my motion to all three.
Second it.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
So do any of you plan on signing up for the K-Camp meeting online that day?
No, if it's online, not really.
Uh,
You need an alternate?
Well, the forums have a place for an alternate. I don't know that it's going to matter because I'm going to be there anyway. But you can vote to designate an alternate if you would like to.
You planning on sitting at your computer and watching that all day? Come on,
Plan on
Danny.
it, but it probably wouldn't work. I mean, I can if you need me, yeah. It'd be beneficial to me. I can't remember, what did I go to last year? What was that? Was that just like?
Great meaningful event you went to.
I think it probably was.
I didn't know the last year, know the name of it.
Is that in Wichita?
I was out by Fort Riley, I think, or
No, that may have been just a commission.
is that what that was?
Yeah.
That was Dean County.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
If you sign up and he doesn't sit there in front of the computer all day, but in the event David, for whatever reason, doesn't or isn't able to make it, for whatever reason, that you have a backup plan. I think
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
if you sign up, there's no cost this year. Usually there's
70 or.
Is the candidates or whatever running, do you have a list of those?
I do not have a list. I know K-Work will have some positions up, and I don't know if our region is in theirs or not.
Okay.
K-Camp, we've got 3 board members up, four this time, and we didn't have any other applications that went through the whole process, so we're recommending the board members that are already there be reelected for another term.
So do I need to go on somewhere and sign up, or?
If you want, yeah, if you want to do it, you'll have to go to the KAC website and sign up for that day. I can show you that when we get a minute here if you want to.
Yeah, that's
So when you need a motion that would make Danny the backup delegate
Right.
for all three, so move.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Danny, I'll have a couple of forms for you to sign on some of those, so we can take care of that before we get out of here today.
Yep, that'll work. You got anything else?
That's probably it at the moment anyway.
Gary? Nothing. AMR?
Good morning. Hope everybody had a good weekend. I had a number of things I wanted to update you on. First is sitting in the back with the mask on is Derek Kabelka, who is our new field supervisor. And so he'll be joining the other two, Jeff and Lewis.
You a paramedic?
He's a paramedic. He's been a paramedic for a few days. He came to us from an AMR operation in California years ago. He's been a paramedic here in Linn County for 8 years. And has also been functioning in the position of a field training officer for a number of years. So we were excited to have him throw his name in the hat, and we selected him for the position. So you'll start to see him rotating through here. Let's see, I wanted to give you an update on some staffing challenges that we've had, just so you kind of are aware of some things we've been working on. As you probably know, and Rick, I'm sure you know from your role on the board, there's just a generalized paramedic shortage in Kansas and across the country. So that's kind of the backdrop, but we've been down one full-time paramedic for a number of months now, and it's just a challenge to recruit for it. And then we had another full-time paramedic go out on injury and found out that she'll need surgery on a knee, which we have scheduled through our work comp insurer. So that's kind of the backdrop. So we've been down 2 full-time paramedics. And we've been paying out a lot of overtime, and we've started paying out bonuses to try to fill those shifts. And we've been able to do so successfully, but here in the next couple months, there's potentially going to be a handful of days where we're not able to get that open paramedic position filled. And so we're working on a contingency plan with our clinical educator and medical director. In the event that we're not able to have all 3 paramedic positions on a given day filled, we plan to have an additional BLS transport unit. So we have 3 transport units in the county, but one of them being BLS. And so we're working on a contingency plan with our medical director to amend essentially the scope of practice, because normally we don't have EMTs taking transports. And so if that's the case for a few shifts coming up in the next month or 2 that we're not able to have our normal staffing configuration, we may have an additional transport unit on, and then we'd be essentially triaging calls, and after a paramedic does an assessment, may have a BLS ambulance transport if it's appropriate, to prioritize having paramedic resources in the county for those days. So those are kind of some of the things that we're working on. The bright spot is we've finally been able to hire another paramedic who has a good chance of filling one of those positions in here in the next number of weeks once they complete orientation and their field rides. And then we have another EMT who will be challenging the national test to get her paramedic certificate here in the next month or so. And then if the paramedic that'll be out for knee surgery comes back, we'll actually have one extra paramedic, but don't let any word get out that Linn County has an extra paramedic, or you'll have counties from all over the state coming to try to recruit one, because that's kind of unheard of to have an extra paramedic. But I'm hopeful that here in a couple months we'll be in that situation. So that's kind of an update on where we're at staffing wise and some of the things that we're working on. And then a couple things that we've touched on in the past. Had one flight out that was kind of a neat, it worked out well, and I just wanted to share it. We use one flight comm that dispatches helicopters out of Chanute and out of Overland Park, both. So there was a helicopter request last week for, I think it was some sort of cardiac event out of the trading post area. And one of the first helicopter wasn't able to fly because of weather south of the county. And because we're using the one comm center, they were able to very quickly get the flight base in Overland Park, north of the county, to accept, and they were able to fly because they didn't have the same weather conditions. So in a matter of just a couple of minutes, we were able to, get a denial, get an acceptance, and get the patient flown out. So it was good to see that process come together and work, because sometimes weather is very localized, and base to the north might not be able to fly, base to the south might be able to fly. So it was good to see that come together. One thing we've touched on is that we're working on having a dual membership option that citizens in the county could buy into, to not just have a ground ambulance membership, but have a membership that could cover ground and air. We mentioned that it's kind of a novel effort because it just hasn't been put in place before. And so we had a meeting recently to further discuss that with the key players that need to make it all come together. And so that's still a work in progress, and just wanted you to know that we're still working towards it.
If it happens, it'll be a membership type thing?
Yeah, it would be an annual, like right now we have the ambulance membership that's
Sure.
$65 a year. And so it would be similar. It would be an annual membership that would cover ground and air for, we don't know what the final cost will be, but I think our goal is to keep it quite affordable. And then I think last week or the week before, Tisha, did you walk in? How many of your staff were we able to fit test? 5 or 6. So we set up another round of fit testing for some of the health department staff that our supervisor did over at Station 1 to walk them through the fit testing that they need to do to be able to meet the OSHA standards for wearing the N95 respirator. So we were able to do that for all her staff that needed it. And then numbers-wise, for the last 7 days, we're at 22 transports. It's been relatively busy, and so far for the months to date, we're at 67 transports. So it's still winding up to be a pretty busy month transport-wise. And I think that's all. Do you have any questions for me?
When they fly out, is that usually visually flight restricted? I mean, you need the visual when you land wherever you're at because of no influence.
Correct. Yep. It's all, I think they call it visual flight rules that they follow. Yep. So they have to, they have certain weather minimums that they have to meet before they can accept a flight for where they're coming from and where they're going to. Yeah. Yeah.
What was that membership thing you were talking about? 60, or the one that you currently have? What is that?
Yeah. So currently we have it's called the Life Care membership, but it's through AMR, and it's a household membership, and the cost is $65 a year, and it covers everybody in a given household. And essentially, if you have the membership and you need ambulance transport, it'll cover the cost of transport if you're a member, or if someone in your household's a member. There's a few, and I have paperwork on the back there. It might have got moved around with whatever happened with the boxes, but there's an application form, and there's a few scenarios that it wouldn't be an advantage for, like if somebody's on Medicaid, it really wouldn't be an advantage for them because that insurance plan limits just because of the way that insurance plan pays out, it wouldn't be an advantage for them, but it's really a pretty good deal compared to several
So if you're
hundred.
like in a different county where AMR is not associated with the county, does it, I mean, how does that work? Do you, like, you got an ambulance in Fort Scott, does AMR cover that if you're a member of their?
No, so the membership is just AMR specific.
AMR.
Yep. So if something happened out of the county and another ambulance service, like in Miami County, did the transport, they wouldn't, I doubt they would honor a AMR membership, so. Yep.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. And do you have an update on the contract review?
I think the commissioners are ready to sign it. I assumed that you'd send a final copy or bring the final copy in for signing, but if, the one I had, I kind of marked up
Okay,
as a draft.
gotcha.
But I don't know, maybe David, you have a signed copy or a copy to sign, or?
Think so, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
I was just, in fact, I thought you were gonna bring one today. I guess I wouldn't,
okay. Well, I can sure bring a printout
yeah.
We'll be here
next week,
if you want it done today,
next Monday.
or we can wait till next Monday.
I think they're ready to sign it, so,
Yeah.
isn't that right?
But you didn't have, after your review, you didn't have any edits that needed to be
No,
made?
not really. I had 2 or 3 things that I marked to compare back to the last one,
Sure,
and, there's really virtually no change.
okay. Sounds good.
Derek, congratulations on your new spot. Oh,
Would you be able to print out the Word document that I sent, or should I bring a printed out one next
I
week?
can send it, I can email it into Joyce and have her print it. I can't get mine to print.
Okay.
So, I mean, when that was.
Maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
You wanna look at those on the weekend
Yeah.
I do, but it's kind of
on your
going
phone?
Well, thank you very much. Have a good week.
all the time. I study anyway.
Thanks, Gail.
Kevin?
Good morning, Commission. Kevin Friend, Linn County Sheriff. Just to start off, the date on my report to you is incorrect. That was last week's date, but this is this week's numbers. I just didn't change the date. Sorry about that. Total prisoner population, we have 22. We had 6 or 8 bond out in the last few days, so that was kind of nice. We have 16 in-house and 6 farmed out. We had 149 911 calls, and there was really no other notable numbers. We did have 13 crashes last week. That was a little bit high, probably 6 or 8 more than usual in the county. That's about all we have this week, and I understand we have a fence viewing today. What time is that going to be? 12:30?
Do you have a packet for us with a map, David? Or?
Anything for me, Commission?
How's everything going over in your jail going?
That's going really well. We've had, all the alterations made to the doors and stuff, so they're able to secure those up a little bit better, and everything's going pretty smooth. I hate to say that because it'll certainly go to heck here later today if we do say that, but it's nice for now, so.
Good deal.
Can you just go really, really briefly, because I don't think there's a lot of people that understand. The VIN inspections are for vehicles outside the state, right? Coming in that wants the license, is that
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Is there other?
Out of state,
others?
so in out-of-state vehicle inspections, this past week, we done 20 of those. There's a lot of numbers there, and I just don't go through them all just because sometimes
No,
it might
but
be
just-
kind of boring.
Just to clarify, is that the only reason they would do a VIN inspection? Do they do it for trailers or anything else? Somebody had asked me.
Yeah, we do anything out of state. We
Okay.
do not do salvage
Right.
and stuff like
So
that.
they need
Those,
to have their title and,
yep, title,
Okay.
$20 and a driver's license, you can get those done. And we're back to doing those 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 3:30, so.
you do them all for the whole county, or does any of the cities designated to do those?
Some of the cities do VIN inspections as well if they've
So
been trained.
you accept
and
those if they do them up there?
It'd be up to the license office.
Okay.
So they go straight from the city to the, I know that Lacine does quite a few inspections in their jurisdiction, and I think Pleasanton does
several in theirs as well, but we don't see those. They go back to patrol.
Okay.
What's the difference between having the county do it and a state trooper? I mean, is there a reason the state trooper would have to do it rather than the county?
So, yeah, if patrol's doing it, they could do any of them, of course. So if we have to turn one away, it would be because it was a salvage or rebuild title, and we don't do those.
And that goes to the trooper?
And then that would go back to the highway patrol. Right.
Or in the event you get hold of something that you can't find a serial number on, like a trailer or.
True, we have those, we have that happen time to time. If we have a problem and it's not just ready to go essentially, and all the numbers are there and matching, we would turn that back to patrol. And that's at their request that we do that, so.
Well, thanks for doing that.
You bet. You guys have a good day.
You do. Chris, you got anything? Tisha, Jessica?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Tisha Coleman, Linn County Health Department Director. Just to kind of give you an update, we've been talking about flu vaccines. Our high dose we are currently out of. However, I've in constant communication with where we are getting that vaccine to see our status of receiving it. We're going to get some. It's just everybody, I think, is wanting the flu vaccine right now, and the way it's allocated and things like that, we've went through our supply of it. I hope to have some in soon, but just wanted to update everybody in regards to the high-dose influenza vaccine. We did receive our VFC vaccine for children vaccine. We have not received all of it, but we have received some of that, and until we get or know how much we are going to be getting and all of that, I don't want to set up flu clinics in the schools or things like that, because then we would just have to cancel them or reschedule them if we didn't have our vaccine in. But people can come to our office and get those.
Yeah.
Adult flu vaccine we do have in, and we have plenty of that. So that's on flu vaccines. And then just to let you know, with WIC, the USDA and Kansas Department of Health and Environment have announced COVID-19 WIC waivers until 30 days after the end of the national declared public health emergency. So what that means is typically people would have been coming into our office every 3 months, or depending on the situation, to get their benefits renewed. And since COVID, we've been able to do a lot of that over the phone. Some people do need to come in, though, because of measurements such as hemoglobin or height and weight. But we can still do everything else over the phone. Does that make sense? Okay. We're still needing PRN nurses, LPNs or RNs can apply to help out with COVID support. What they would need to do is either fill out an application online, which is at the Linn County, Kansas website, or they can fill out a paper one as well. So we're still looking for that. COVID-19 update, we are at 82 as of this morning and 15 active as of this morning. There will be a new report this afternoon that will have all these numbers on there. Now, take note, as we call these active people to identify whether they're still symptomatic or not, that those numbers can change, but this is tentatively, as of 8:45 this morning, that's where we're at. Okay?
Again, what was the number?
82 total and 15 active. I think it was last week we had superintendents that were here and talked about getting PPE or needing PPE, as in surgical masks. I have received several of those masks in, and I've already delivered some to one of the schools, and another school is saying that they're good right now, and I haven't heard back from another one. So just to let you know, we're making sure that they have what they need.
Thank you.
And then I will need 10 minutes for personnel and 10 minutes for legal.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? Okay,
I got one. Just any status on your new piece of equipment that's gonna be coming in your test
I
equipment?
haven't heard.
Nothing?
It's been a little busy for me, and I haven't reached out yet to find out the status of it. I thought about it last week, but I didn't do that yet, so,
Thank you.
okay.
You guys don't have nothing? Jackie?
Good morning. Jackie Messer, Public Works Administrator. I want to bring that one back from last week where I didn't have a number on it for the Ferry Road project.
So this is an application for a permit of the utility right away, right?
Yes, cross is right there at the park entrance. They're going to put it in a sleeve, and it's Chad Page. Talked about it, but I forgot to get a number for it, and then you guys were gone when I finally got the number on it.
So our guys are okay with it?
Yes.
Was it Harry or was it?
It would have been
Jason?
Jason. I went up
Jason.
and looked at it.
Okay.
You just need a motion to approve that, whatever
Yes.
number is.
I'll abstain.
Go ahead.
I know nothing about it, but.
I'll make a motion that we approve this application for a utility right-of-way for Chad Page, and the permit number is BP 2020-07.
I'll second that motion.
Move and second, all in favor?
Aye.
And Mike is abstaining.
We are going to be road striping this week. The contractor's supposed to be here.
He didn't need to sign it.
All three of you, both of you.
Do you need?
But
Copy.
Mike won't, though.
Mike won't.
Did you guys sign it?
Yeah,
we signed it. Do you need
Why
a copy of
would
it?
we still have all three commissioners sign their
Just the way that's the way the form was set up by the folks who put that
Put 'em
package
together.
together for us. We can change it.
Just a quick observation on the Judicial Center, just a little progress report. I think they're supposed to be on site this week with some equipment. They did a lot of surveying and staking last week is what they were concentrating on, doing the construction survey. And they were saying they were going to bring the equipment in this week. I did talk last week a little bit about the grants we're working on, and I wanted to briefly touch base because the reason I wanted to talk about them a little bit is they are cost share grants. I'm not quite sure what the breakdown would be. These have to be turned in this week. I think they're 15% local match. What we came up with, I met with Jessica and Andy, we sat in here and we brainstormed projects, and I think one we were wanting to put in for on the airport. Actually, I got my notes here. There was several, between our thoughts, there were several things. One is maybe extend the runway to accommodate jets so that it can be more appealing. That was just an idea. The second one, which I think is the most viable idea, is to submit for the access roads, or access between the hangars, to try to get money for that. We have the numbers. I'll be putting that in sometime this week. We'll know in a month. So that would make the rest, if we can get a grant to do that work, that would make all the hangar sites more appealing, and we could probably
So is that asphalt or concrete, or what are you doing between them?
probably, well, first off, we have to dig out 18 inches of material and replace it. That's going to be pretty expensive. We'll bring back a gravel base, and then I think asphalt over it is what I was thinking. Thank you. I think that's gonna- the second project that we thought about, was gonna, might as well put in 2 for grants if we can get the money, is for a development plan of what can be done and should be done and how to develop that.
The airport?
The airport.
How many hangar spots are available out there?
I think there's the last 16 or 18's available now.
So you're talking development like as in us building them and?
No, no, planning, only, planning. Come in there, have somebody, a professional planner, lay it out. Can we put more hangars on that bench? Should we put more hangars on that bench? Should we put more hangars to the left? Just develop concept plans. If you did, this is where you could go with this. Not necessarily developing anything. The first project I wanted to look at was to build the access road. You still have the lots that we have to sell beside that, and they would sell pretty quickly if we had an access road. The second project would be, what's the future hold? Should we look at putting a sewer lagoon over there and developing something else? I don't know, it's just more economic. What can we do to make it viable? Just have a planning group come in and lay out an options and plans. That would be, I just don't want to throw a bunch of money out there to do that, but if we can get a grant for some professional planners to come in, I think they could give us direction. We could always say yes or no, but at least give us this is what you have land for, this is what makes sense out here, so.
Those other 2 that you talked about, how much are they and the grants you're putting in for?
The other 2?
Yeah, the first 2 that you talked about the,
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna jump to them. Because they're a different pot of money. Those were the 2 on the airport. The other ones we looked at on the KDOT. The KDOT is for economic growth. A project that will promote economic advantages. We looked at several, well, we actually brainstormed about 6 or 7 of them. But the 2 we came up with, one we threw out and then I threw it back in this morning. Because I talked to Gary on it because I had a little curveball on the ownership of some of the land and he explained it. One was an industrial park overview planning, bringing a planning coordinator in to figure out how to promote and build roads or whatever you have to do to promote the industrial site. The second one that we were looking at was there's a piece of property that is off Tucker Road that's kind of, I got a map here, but I dropped everything, so excuse me while I look
is
for
it
it.
20 acres?
Behind Casey's,
Here it is.
behind Casey's.
It's a small chunk of land here that is jointly owned by Linn County and the city. It doesn't really have a road that gives it access. So we were thinking about putting a grant.
What about off Tucker Road? There's that,
It is on.
didn't that construction company come in when they
There's
built
a
the
road
highway?
that dead ends at the edge of this road, right?
Yes.
At edge of this tract.
Yes.
But he's talking about running the road up the length of it so there would be access to other lots along in it.
Yeah, and then this is landlocked right now. So, and I'm sure Pleasanton would join with us on that because they would benefit as much as we would. But that would open this up for development. It's just, I mean, if we can get it by grant to build that.
Do you have the amounts of the grants that you're
No,
requesting?
I'm still working on
Okay.
it. I've got a bunch of numbers. I would guess this.
Is that
would
the
be-
same thing on the airport too? You don't have solid numbers?
I've got it all laid out, but I haven't pulled it together. We got-
And then are they all 15% matching?
Yes, I would say that access road one, you're probably looking at 250,000 or more. And we did commit when we sold lots that we would do that. We would put access, and we do have money aside that we could use for the matching from the airport
Right.
lot sales.
Right.
So that one would be In fact, either one of the airport lots, if we could utilize that money from the lot sales to pay our 15%, that's where the county investment would come in. I have been getting a lot of questions from the individuals who have bought lots of when are you going to start, when are you going to start? But I think we should not drag our feet, I wouldn't say that exactly. Hold off until we get an answer on the grant. Because if we don't have to, if we can get the grant to pay for it, I think it would be better than pulling that out of county funds. So I would rather wait for an answer before, but I'm trying to get two projects to kind of tie together. One of them is digging the cell, which we'll probably, at the landfill, which we'll probably have to contract out, bring scrapers in.
Right.
And the airport, if the two of them work together, maybe we could get a contractor that it would be more appealing with two projects versus one in the same area. I did contact Terracon, who's doing the planning and scoping and permit process for the cell 6, and they're supposed to give me a report this week. They kind of forgot about us, so as soon as I get that and get these other numbers put in about a month, we'll know where we stand on it. But
Well, I
there's
think
a lot of
Mike-
earth to be
Mike's
moved.
good, probably because the airport was around way before me, but we've gotten a lot of grants over the years for the airport, especially the fuel's the one that I remember, because that's the one I was involved with.
Yeah, the fuel, the little building.
Right,
and
yeah, so
the
I know we
airport
get,
itself.
we're fortunate, and the airport's coming along, I hope we can still progress with it.
Yes.
Actually, we've received one planning grant already, and I think you've got some flat information, tells you how many hangars you have and what size and such, and I think that's where our commitment is to develop those roads in there, but they go almost all the way back to the south and east, almost back to the road. Anyway, I'm sure you're gonna do it in phases. However, there was one planning grant, but there may be, if there's more need for more planning, such as taxiways and, you know.
And what's the long-term future of the property between the airport and the highway? That I don't know if we thought about that. Is that, it's agricultural, I think it's spec land right now, and speculate, they bought the whole lot. But I don't know.
We own everything between the highway and,
Yes.
is it just for future development? Is that,
I've seen a map. We own from the highway, from the overpass, from the highway back to the north. I think the owner owns the property further north from there, but there's an L shape there. But when we purchased the property, Mr. Arnold, as I recall, he wouldn't sell it unless he didn't want to have a strip out of the middle of it, and a piece over here and a piece there. We had to own it. The state actually purchased the property as part of the grant, and then remitted it back to the city and the county, which then the city turned it, as per previous agreement, turned it back over to the county. So it's county property. But yes, that other piece of property is owned by the city. We did, and the county in half, and then there's a piece that the community owns right beside it. So, anyway, there's a pretty good chunk of property there as far as an access road. I think when we say road, it's just an access, right?
There's about a 200-foot road there or something? Oh, that's what we're talking about on the, off the Tucker on
I
the,
think there is some there. We would update.
There's actually a road.
I think it was platted and,
He's shaking his head, yeah.
and it's actually built about 200 foot of it, isn't it, or something like that? Is there a gravel road in there?
Oh, you're talking about South Casey?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, there's a little bit, that's the airport.
Danny asked a question, can the county have them self-develop hangars and such? And in Miami County, they actually received some grant funding. I'm sure, I don't know why the state's so, I guess, eager or to try and develop that, but they are, and they have an airport authority at Myola, which is Miami County Airport, whatever you want to call it. But those big hangars out there to the south of it are all developed by the airport authority. I bid on them.
so what would, so, I mean, would it be beneficial to the county to, if we if we built hangars and sold them or rented them out, I mean, does that be a source of income, or is that something that's
We
never
didn't
been
do an
done?
airport authority. Gary, I think, wants to weigh in on that.
Yeah, the commissioners at the time made the decision, after looking at all the possibilities, not to do that. They did not create an airport authority, they simply, are in the position of selling the lots and letting people build them. There are covenants and restrictions that control what they can do. They looked, the commission at the time, which I think maybe a couple of you were on, looked at the possibility of being the developer, but they decided that that was really not the business they wanted to be in.
Do they rent, I mean, municipal airports like that, do they rent out hangars for people to store the planes in and stuff?
They actually, yeah, in Garnett, you can rent a piece of property and develop your own hangar on it, and you pay so much a year, and that was a little bit that went on out here at Gilmore, I think, over the years. It was a failure out here, with the hangars got really decrepit and growed up with trees and brush. That was looked at by the state, and when we were trying to make that decision, the state guys, there's a lawyer that sits on that. I can't think of their name right now, but anyway, they pushed us away from developing it. They said, you guys don't really want to get in that business. Right now, we have this one, this lot 5 here developed, and these 3 behind it are sold to the same gentleman.
Is this the strip over here? Or-
This is the road, it's Tiger Road, 1000
okay.
Road, excuse me.
69.
It overpasses here, 69.
These are sold
here.
to Random Farms. This is sold to a guy named Van Meter,
Where's the one that's built right now?
this one right here. And then he owns all of these. He said he's gonna build the T hangars here. This is gonna be the mechanic hangar. This is a different vendor. We have interest in this one. We ended up making this one big lot instead of 2 because we didn't have room for the tower. We don't want it under a lot. But what I'm talking about, if we can get a concept plan, there's a drainage here. Should there be hangars up here? Should there be hangars over here? Get a professional planning group.
This is following the drainage down through here. And one of the plans that Andy had submitted, or that Tim and I had communicated about, was that when you're developing this road, are you doing all of them?
Yes.
To put a tube through here and go over there and use that as a borrow site.
So this is what we're gonna propose for a grant, all of this stuff. And then this one. And we gotta do it anyway, but if we get the state's help on it.
This gentleman was intending to make T-hangers for rent behind this existing building he has out there now. And my concern has been all along is the elevation. You see these contour lines are on 2-foot centers on elevations. And if you build a building here that's 150 feet long for T-hangers, that's fine, but you're going to have to, I mean, these T-hangers look like this. And then this next one looks like this, and then this, So how do you, down here, it looks like you've got such a tight grade here, between here and here, you're gonna have to gain 3 or 4 foot of grade.
2 feet from this level to here. And I think it's 2 feet or more.
I think it's more, but also we had a little bit of a drainage concern on how we're gonna get drainage off this corner through these lots back into here. If he built to the edge of the property like he was intended to, it was gonna create a storm drainage situation. But these hangars look like this, you're gonna have to start stepping this floor, or you're not gonna be able to push your airplane up in it. That, I don't know, that's a commission problem, but it's a problem that's gonna create a commission problem, I think. You don't step the floor of that hangars down to match the existing grade. You've got to push those airplanes up in those hangars, and if it's like that, you need a tugger or.
Do we have any plans for the entry road going into the airport? I mean, to pave it or anything like that, make it wider, nothing like that?
Not yet, no. See, part of the problem is, once we sold these lots, the FAA cannot get funding from the FAA. The only place we can go is state. Any privately developed. This is where we were talking about the land. What's the future of it? So we thought there was like 3 things that we could do to ask for a grant for a development plan. What's the maximum what would we gain by going out 1,500 feet? We did have a company that was interested in possibly locating a flight school, but the runway's too short, so they kind of lost interest. Because you have to have at least minimum 4,000 for a jet, 4,500, 5,000 per. But this guy's built, and from what I understand, I would like to see him build before we put a road in there. I mean, otherwise, I don't want that asphalt pulling up like we're equipment. But we're gonna have to put something in there. This guy went ahead and ran straight out here. Part of the problem when we started this is it's in the city limits. So their codes, they don't have any codes. So they don't have building codes, so we wrote covenants and tried to tighten it up. So when they go to build, we, as the developer, can regulate what they're doing. Because quite honestly, this guy came in, poured a slab, and there's no inspection from the city.
Right, city doesn't have building codes, so they don't do inspections. So our regulations say that not only do people have to comply with whatever the city has, but they also have to bring their plans to the commission and get them approved, because we didn't want it just to be the Wild West out there.
And that's what it was starting to be, because he just went for the slab, and then same thing happened with our little building there. The contractor put it in, and again, there was miscommunication, but we had a lot of corrections on that one. And then there was nobody really inspecting it because the city, in the city limits, he put the septic tank in back. I mean, little minor things like that, they don't quite work in practice. So anyway, but that's what we're looking at for a grant, to try to get a sense of direction and then some factors down. Is it even viable to put anything over here?
I had somebody ask me one time why there was a pond there, and they were concerned of birds maybe flying in front of their plane when they're getting ready to stop. Is there a reason? I mean, is it
That's
just,
on private property, I think the
that-
property
is
line's
that-
right down the middle of, or on the edge of it. But it's mostly existing. There was a state inspector came out and looked at it a while back, gave us a report, and he was more worried about the trees and the drainage here than that. So we pulled them out and removed them. Took the track up, looked on them, and came out.
Yeah, it was actually considered during the placement and the environmental study, because if you leave to the north, you're flying some of the biggest, nicest waterfowl attractions, purposely attractions in the state and federal. And,
The other oddball fact that impacts the entire site is it's the site of it's an endangered,
milkweed.
endangered milkweed.
Yeah,
that property is?
Yes, it has endangered milkweed on it.
one end of that property has,
It's a type of milkweed, it's not the common, I won't say, so if we were to develop that, it's actually a trade here, actually, it is, it's a commodity. I want to develop that. This guy over here has 5 acres of milkweed, so we trade, we can develop ours, but he can't develop his, and take it, it's like unsold commodity, it's weird.
So do we advertise any of this for sale or future development or anything like that?
We haven't advertised a lot. I think the advertisement is when we get this in, then it'll advertise itself. So, but anyway, that's pretty much where we are on that. And the grant got going this week, so I'll be working on pretty much our next day. But the airport grant, I think we can pull from the sale. The other one, I don't think we can use much on those. So, that's all I had.
How's the mowing going?
We're keeping at it. Still Still got some tractors down, still working on that. We're getting as many people as we can on it every day.
You know,
Yeah,
is
truck-
all your part-time people gone now?
Yes. We got people out of trucks and out of equipment.
What about the person or persons up at the park? Are they, the ones that were on part-time, are they gone?
No, because we didn't run them out. We ran them right to the edge, and then we still have a few hours.
Okay.
Uh,
And then last week, I think it was last week, maybe not, you talked about a grant for the vans. Are we doing that this year or is that next
We
year?
are going to do that this year.
Okay.
I went, after you asked me, I went and double checked, and actually both vans are running about 125,000 miles now.
I'd like to see, I don't know if you can do it, but maybe at the end of the year, our progress, how many people actually use the van this year?
Numbers are going to be down substantially.
Sure.
Shut down for COVID, but I control those numbers. In fact, we're
Because-
doing our yearly report. We have two grants, we'll have two grants that are tied to that. The first grant is tied to a yearly operational. We get 60 or 70% of the operational cost reimbursed. The second grant will be for the van itself. So they're both due in November.
Good. Okay. Well, thanks.
I think we'll have a good shot at replacing the van either this year or next, usually
And then,
higher mileage.
then the oldest one, that's the one you're replacing, I assume, right? The oldest van?
No, we'll be replacing the newest one.
You're gonna keep the old one?
No, we'll get rid of it.
Are you gonna have on just one van or two
We'll
vans?
have two again.
Okay.
But we'll take the one that's got 122,000, roll it to the backup and put the new one in service.
So,
Right.
in your thing,
I know. We went around in circles, but we talking about the same thing. All right, I got you.
How's your new semi that you got?
Sheriff, that's that van, I think I know where we're gonna go.
And we can keep those, right? I mean, we can,
After 7
Trade
years,
it.
it's ours.
yeah, okay. It's like, kinda like Doug's, Gators or RTV, or UTVs, I think they belong to the state, but we have to keep them or offer them back to them.
Once a year, now, if we replace, we don't keep the one with the blue stripe for, we want to get rid of it on year 5, it goes back to them. They
Okay.
have, but at year 7, they give us the title, and we're on.
Okay.
Right now, it's actually subject to, if there's a big emergency, they would be able to pull one for that, but, because they don't.
It's a good program and they use it.
And we do have interest in that van as a prisoner transport, and then we have one that we probably pass to IT because they're needing a vehicle, and that, I think it worked out pretty good if we could.
Do the switcheroo.
It's really advantage, our advantage when we purchase something, we roll downhill and reutilize.
Right.
I mean, the van that he has was the old grocery van they call it.
Okay.
It'd be the Meads milkweed.
Yeah, needs to know.
We were running around
Jackie,
flagging that everywhere so that we couldn't, there wasn't any underneath the runway or in the developed areas, but as they got outside of them, they got into the Meads milkweed, which affects the monarch's migration.
I always had one question I really don't want to ask, but I was curious about. How does that affect the hay leaves?
You're not actually eradicating it by cutting it off.
how's your new semi you purchased here a couple weeks ago? Is it working good for you?
Really well.
Happy with it?
It's a really clean, low mileage truck. So
I want to say I've seen 4 county crews working on the way down here and just, you know, I kind of got out early and that's good to see. It's really good to see people out working, taking advantage of this.
Yeah, they're pretty hammered right now. Especially trying to catch them home. We have at least 2 tractors down, it's like same one's on the breakdown.
Probably get more done.
New Holland's back down, the car and R trying to get 4-wheel drive fixed on it. The LS has got something in the brake system and it's sitting without a wheel.
I've got your ambulance contract here. just to remind you of the terms, it is a 5-year contract. It actually starts January 1, runs for 5 years. The annual payment is $895,000. It allows for an ambulance up to 225,000 miles. That was the one significant change from before. And so we do have a copy here. If you're ready to enter into that agreement, you need a motion to enter into the new contract beginning January 1, 2021, and authorize Danny to sign it.
So I'd like to first thank Galen and everyone from AMR for working so hard on this contract. I figured we'd have some significant boost up, and we actually, we did really well on it, so thank you. I did a lot of research on it, being on that board that I sat on for the state, and I came away with a different attitude as far as what we could do, and you guys certainly do a great job. I mean, nothing's perfect in this world, but you do a great job, and we appreciate you. And with that, I voted no the first time I was on that and startled people, but the amount of money that we were spending and what I thought we were getting for that was not as beneficial to the county maybe. And come away with a second thought, I mean, I wish we could afford a third ambulance full-time, and just the cost is just doesn't make sense to us to do that. But and you can see how many runs you made this week or this month, 67, I think you said. So it's an increase. So well, thank you for everything you do. And just with that, I make this motion that we accept this contract with AMR again for the next 5 years, starting effective January 1st, in the amount of whatever it was, 800 and what?
895,000, so it's on the second page.
Second page.
Second column. about
Yep,
two-
886,000, $86. Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Galen, I went and checked out the Blue Mountain Ambulance Barn. First time I've been over there, just wanted to see what was going on. And I talked to your supervisor over there, and I just asked him what, if there's anything they needed. They needed some lockers. And I actually talked to Pleasanton, Travis Laver, and they're going to donate a few lockers to you guys. So.
Oh, cool. Thank
So
you.
I got to go pick them up from the school, and I just told them I'd drop it off at Pleasanton Barn. So.
Well, thank you, Cruz, I appreciate that.
Gotta get the sign in one spot.
I was wondering what. I would figure out the rest, I guess.
I think we all got to sign it, don't we?
No.
No? Okay, good.
Don't do a road crossing without all three. I don't know why that's my pet peeve. So,
Chris, have you thought of anything yet? All right, Gary, you got anything else?
We need a total of 30 minutes for legal issues, 10 including Tish and 20 without her. And then she wanted a 10-minute personnel, so that's 40 minutes total executive.
I'll make that motion. We go into executive session for that.
Do you want to do public comment before we go in?
Yeah.
Withdraw your motion.
Withdraw my motion.
Sorry. Right now, we're going to open it up for public comment. Anybody have anything? State your name and your address and your telephone number. No, I'm just kidding.
Social security number?
Nicholas Philpott, taxpayer. I put in back in February or March for assistance with my fence row and ditch drainage cleanup. And they also put in a new culvert for me. I'm not necessarily whining about the culvert. They brought in what I consider bad dirt and got my pastures full of thistle and Johnson grass, but that's neither here nor there. I've called several times on it, and there doesn't seem to be any follow-up. And I'm getting bills for the services rendered, but they haven't finished what they were supposed to do. And I've talked directly with Jackie, and I just feel like it's going nowhere, and I'd like some assistance.
All right.
1077, and we're north of 21.
I didn't know you had a farm somewhere else. too.
Yeah,
You got two farms?
no,
Okay.
well settled.
Jackie, you want to weigh in?
Let's just talk to him.
I talked, the culvert, I think was resolved, wasn't it? You had to pay for a culvert, so we ended up billing for that.
Yeah, I'm built for it.
Yeah, as far as, removing the fence line, it's a low priority project for us. We're trying to catch up with mowing. Normally, when we remove fence lines, it's, so they're line of sight, or, I mean, that's the higher priority ones. Line of sight or some sort of, this one's out on the, is on the right of way.
Why would we remove
Got
a fence
plenty of
line?
clearance. So we would have to shut down mowing and all sorts of other projects to do it. It's not a high priority for us to do that at this time. So
Jackie,
pardon?
why are we removing a fence line?
It's the
We
trees.
historically, if someone requests us to remove a fence line, sometimes.
Is it on county
It's not a
property?
fence line, we're doing brush cleanup is that's what it amounts to. If the fence is in it, they'll keep it in front of it. It's
Right.
historically something that the county's done
If we
in the
can-
wintertime is usually.
But
when they do that.
are we just cutting the limbs off, or are we just taking the whole thing out?
Once the whole thing's taken out. And if it's to move back onto the right of way, but this one's already on the right of way, which is, we're not gaining any sight distance, so normally it has to be an advantage for us to put the time and effort in there, or, I mean, we could be doing it full-time everywhere. It has
Sure.
to be, the mitigating factor would be, okay, we got 5 or 10 feet of right of way, it's right on the road, but this one's not. This one's off 35 feet.
You could argue that the 2200 road was right on the line.
A lot of look at the one on the highway.
Yeah. It's also the highway, it's like a half mile of the highway and then a quarter mile.
You want them all 3/4 mile
Yeah,
cleaned
just,
up.
but that helps, just that helps.
Do you guys want to talk and just kind of get a tentative date maybe, or try to see what we can do and figure it out?
All right, okay.
If you guys, I mean,
Yeah, it's more about a follow-up, like I've asked about it several times. It's frustrating, you don't ever get follow-up, not that he's not busy, but.
I went up there and I looked at it and I followed up and maybe, I don't know, maybe I didn't get your call or didn't get an answer or something, but I went up there about 2 months ago and looked at it. But like I said, it's back off the right of, it's on the edge of the right of way. The ones we really like to do or have to do are the ones that you got this massive grown-up fence right on the edge of the road. We can't pull it back, we're constantly fighting. And the one that down from the drive is one I looked at, and that was not the case.
No, I mean, it's pretty clear from, but the plaza, I guess, the south part of that 1077 and the 2100.
All right, I can go look at it again.
yeah, if you guys just want to stay in contact, thanks for coming in, Nick.
Are you gonna re-fence it when you're done?
Yeah, I'm gonna rip Asher so I can get it. Thank you.
Nick, thanks.
Make a motion, we go into executive session for 40 minutes with Tisha Coleman. Who else needed to go? Gary.
Yeah, it's 10 for legal and personnel for Tisha, I think.
Yeah. 40 minutes total. That's my motion.
Second. Mike got the second. Moving second, all in favor? Aye.
Did you, was you able to make contact? Yes or no?
Light doesn't work. Pin.
Get your money back.
Call him up if you can't. Did you say you wanted to review?
Not necessarily, I think we've been looking that over, but I'm all right with that too.
What do you want to do?
I'm okay with it, which, see what Gary's comment is about that particular subject, if it is legal. I think we ought to take
There is action, Jackie, we're just waiting on Gary.
Our time, ready, we're good.
I think we're all right with going ahead and having some action on this.
Okay, let's talk about what we got then. We have a proposed, greatest maximum price agreement on the, Justice Center project. After having made some reductions and changes to try to get the price down, looks like the greatest maximum price that they're willing to contract is $19,027,892. They have supplied us with a proposed contract for that amount. So your next step, whenever you're ready, is to approve approve signing that contract and enter into that agreement for that greatest maximum price.
So moved.
Second.
Move second, all in favor?
Aye.
Do we sign, do I have to sign this?
Yeah, you want to like the one that I'm marking on?
Yeah, I can.
There's several, oh, you good.
There's
I'm not
there's
in
about
front of
on the 1, 2, 3, fifth page is where you sign.
Is it under signature or commission chair?
It says
Both?
owner.
Yeah, well, you get the bid directly.
Yeah, well,
And then print your name when it says commission chair.
you just need the,
I will
the
send it
AI.
to them.
We keep it.
You just need that, you don't need the attachment. Just get, just, let's circle to the bottom of it.
contract also for you to consider. This is an employment contract with Robin Spencer. Robin is a nurse practitioner, and we've been looking for someone to serve as our county health officer. Since our county health officer resigned, Tish has been filling in on a part-time basis or a temporary basis, but she's really not, that's really not what her job's supposed to be. And so Robin is willing to take on that job. Keep in mind that we have a consulting contract with CHC, so that, and because we have that consulting contract, where they have a physician who oversees everything, then we can have a nurse practitioner in this role rather than a physician. And so that's what we're looking at here. She will be working basically a minimum of 15 hours a week as the county health officer, more hours if necessary, depending on circumstances. There'll be a minimum of 15. Her hourly rate will be $45 an hour. She will be eligible for papers, but she won't be having any other fringe benefits. She would also, under this contract, be available for other consulting services with the county beyond the role of county health officer if needed. If petition needs her to help with some of the other programs, then she would be available to work some hours on those over and above her 15 hours. So that is the gist of the contract. It says that she will be evaluated on an annual basis like all the other employees. Her evaluation will be done by the county health nurse and may be done by the board of commissioners. That's the contract that's there. She has indicated she will accept it on those terms. So if you want to, we do have, the contract would begin October 5th with her first available date. So if you would want to do this, I need a motion to offer the contract for employment on the terms that we've mentioned here, 15 hours a minimum a week, $45 an hour, and so forth, beginning October 5th. We will make that date adjustment, get her to sign it, and then have it back for you to sign next week.
And Gary, can you, before we make that motion, or if we're going to make a motion, can you just clear up the CHC? We had to get that prior to just to even order to
Right.
operate the health department.
In order to operate at all, if we don't have a physician in place as the county health officer, we have to have a contract with a clinic to provide that oversight. We are able to do that because we're such a small county.
Right.
If we were a bigger county, we couldn't do that.
And they're doing it for like $9,000 a year, is that right?
Yeah, we're paying them $9,000 a year to provide the oversight that we're required by statute to have. But we still need a county health officer in addition to that. They're not serving as county health officer, they're providing medical oversight for a county health officer. Because we anticipated that we probably wouldn't be able to find a position. We tried, we couldn't. And so that's, under these rules, we can have a nurse practitioner in that role if we have this contract with the GC.
So, anybody got any questions?
I do not.
I do.
I'll make a motion that we enter into that agreement hiring Robin Spencer at the contract rate that was just mentioned, and which equals about $35,000 a year. And then we have $9,000 a year that we contract with CHC, and then received a bill from the insurance, I believe it was, that we still owe $9,000 when it was all done with the legal fees for the lawsuit. So the lawsuits, everything else, Dr. Allen's resigned, it's gonna cost the county about somewhere almost $60,000 a year. So I made the motion to hire, is there-
I'll second that motion. Move and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then I've got one other thing if you want to do it now. drafted it, then we kind of tweaked it a little bit. This is a proclamation of the Board of County Commissioners of Linn County, Kansas. Whereas the Linn County, Kansas school districts have petitioned the Linn County Commissioners to celebrate Mr. Dale Dennis and his service to Kansas schools, and whereas Mr. Dale Dennis was born and raised in the Linn County area, and whereas Mr. Dennis graduated from Blue Mountain High School, attended Pittsburgh State University, and earned a bachelor's degree of business education in 1959, a master's of business education and school administration in 1966, and an education specialist degree in school administration in 1983. And whereas Mr. Dennis returned to teach at Blue Mountain High School from 1959 to 1965, during which time he took a year away from teaching to serve in the Army National Guard. He served as principal at Lacey High School from 1965 to 67. Mr. Dennis joined the Kansas State Department of Education in 1967 as a state school finance administrator, and then was named deputy commissioner in 1976. And whereas Mr. Dennis has won numerous awards throughout his career, including the Kansas Association of School Business Officials Distinguished Service Award, which the agency later named the Dale Dennis Distinguished Service Award, and was named the 2019 Kansas of the Year by the Native Sons and Daughters of Kansas. And whereas Mr. Dennis has always been and continues to be an advocate for Kansas students in public schools, and whereas Mr. Dennis has served the state of Kansas as a public servant for 60 years, and whereas the Linn County, Kansas schools, along with the Linn County Commission and the people of Linn County would like to congratulate and honor Mr. Dennis for his long tenure and unwavering support of schools in Kansas. Now therefore, it is hereby proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Linn County, Kansas, that October 1st, 2020, shall be designated Dale Dennis Day. So if you want to do that, just sign both of those.
Proclamation.
Right.
Be my motion to accept that and sign it.
Do we have any, like, what, does he come in here?
You
Talk to him.
you can ask him to come in if you want to. I doubt, I think he's still, I don't think he's actually retired yet, has he? I don't know. You could do a presentation if you wish, or you could just send it to him.
What do you guys think?
But why don't you contact Travis
Okay.
and ask him what he thinks.
All right. Good, David, you?
Yeah, David.
Was that second yet?
No.
I'll second that motion. Motion's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I got.
Okay, I have sport committee on the agenda to start about now. I have some maps for this fence view. And we need to decide, are we just meeting on the road about when it starts, or at someone's house, or where we're going?
So is it the fence between these two properties?
I believe it is this fence line right here, between those two properties. The gentleman that petitioned for this, well, there's 2 or 3 buildings or 4 that have that address. That's the address he listed, and I think that is the address of the person that this agreement is with. So it looks like
Yeah,
we're gonna come from the road, and I have no idea what the best access is into that, if it would just be off that road, or if there's another way to get to it.
looks to me like if we meet there on the county road, 2200 road, right at the end of that fence, then if we need to drive down that, looks like there's a driveway right there, we might be able to get.
Yeah.
I
Now,
have
this is
no
gonna be
idea what
about
it's at.
a mile
Prairie View.
east of Cadmus, or 2 miles mile, somewhere in there, between Prairie View and Cadmus on that gravel road that cuts through.
Yeah, it's about a mile west of Prairie View.
Okay.
West of Prairie.
So, Mr. Thompson, would you need at the 11475 address?
Uh-huh.
What's the address?
Does that sound all right?
The address will be 11475 West 2200.
Is that what is that, Lacine or?
Well, that one
Parker.
is actually a Fontana address, and this guy's is a Lacine address, so,
So we're meeting here though, right?
but yeah, I
At
think
Fontana.
that's probably the closest to that fence and best place there.
West of Prairie View. On,
On
2200
2200.
Road.
Yeah. Actually, that's right there at the corner of Prairie View, that's 2200 that goes west, and it comes
Right.
out at Cadmus if you go all the way there, so.
Prairie
This
View.
shows up as Lacine, Kansas. Is that, would this be the same address? It shows up as Lacine.
Possibly, I would guess so.
Yeah, that fence right there.
Okay, this is more like a half mile west of Cadmus.
Yeah, so there, okay, so that's
East
that.
of Cadmus,
East of
sorry.
Cadmus,
East of
okay.
Cadmus, you were correct.
Yeah, so you're probably, your easiest way would be go up 7 to Cadmus, and then turn back east, that's gonna be
If the
closer.
grains all go east, yeah, I'm making this curve, I keep thinking, why did we print this upside down? That's it.
This is it right here, right? That little dip.
No.
And we have that scheduled to start at 12:30.
Isn't that, you got a little dip right here.
This is the Cadmus Fairgrounds right there.
Right there.
Okay, so just go to Cadmus and
This
go.
is down the hill, this is Prairie View, we're down the hill.
Here's the Cadmus Fairgrounds right behind the Grange, here's 7 right here.
Mhm.
Is that a fairground?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that, here it is right here. That's that little dip
Yeah.
right there.
and we're meeting right here, right?
Myron Strop lives there, and this is Troy Troutman right down that road there.
I know the gentleman that requested this, I think has talked to Gary also, right, back when he.
Yeah, it's been a while, but
And when we get there,
I think there are various issues that he's dealing with, some of them are gonna be things that are not up to the commission to decide anyway.
right, the issues of location of fence, we have no say about, and
Right.
we have to be, in fact, we try to be very careful, very careful not to sound like we're saying anything about the location, because that's just none of our role. What we do is look at, determine, number one, is there a fence there? And if there is it a legal fence? Does it meet the minimum statutory requirements?
which is what? Do we have that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know that?
Yep.
Uh,
You?
I don't know that.
It's, depends on the kind of fence it is, but if it's a barbed wire fence, it's gotta have 3 wires. The bottom wire has to be, so close to the ground. I've got all those, I can't remember all. The poles have to be, the posts have to be 20 feet, at least 20 feet.
It's something stupid,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
something that you try to keep
You
livestock.
never keep anything in with the fence that they call a legal fence.
I'm gonna start building them like that.
And then finally, once we've decided, yes, it's a legal fence or no, it isn't, if it needs to be changed or built up, who's responsible for doing what part? That's the role that we play.
And typically, when we've done these in the
Head
past,
west on
Gary's
Kansas
explained
52 West, West
what
Main
the
Street
commission
towards
can do and can't do at the beginning of it to both parties, and kind of go from there.
That's what we do. We get there, we explain what we do, we look at it, and then we adjourn, and I write a report based on what I think you'll want to decide. I submit it to you guys at the next meeting or two, sometime, and then you decide, yes, this is what we want to issue, or, so you'll be issuing an order.
So we adjourn from here and then adjourn when we
What
get
you
back?
do is recess from here,
Oh,
to
okay.
meet out there at a certain time, and then when you're done out there, you'll adjourn.
Okay.
That's the way we normally do it.
We'll probably need your IT experience out there.
That's at 12:30, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna wanna get out of here at least by noon, to stop anywhere on the way or anything,
Get out of here.
You
You got a spark.
I'm not me.
Huh?
Not me.
You're not? See?
I'm gonna go home and get my set of boxing gloves and see whoever wins gets to pay for the food.
I don't know. The other guy, Wisconsin. Working out, he graduated with us.
Yeah, they're getting kind of old, aren't they?
We are.
Good buck.
Think about it now.
Hope it ain't a young buck owning another property.
That's why we got guns now.
Well, that's,
I make a motion, we go on recess.
Well,
Oh, we're not? We're not done?
we have the Spark Committee here to talk to you.
Oh, they're gonna talk to us?
Yeah.
I thought they were having a meeting.
No, they,
That's why we got everybody hanging around.
more reason to adjourn. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
So-
withdraw that.
Last week, we had Doug and I sat in on a meeting, and Mike sat in on that, with the State Spark CARES Act Committee, hoping to get some answers on some of our projects, in particular the building project we had submitted for Health Department and / EOC. Didn't really get a lot of answers from them. We'd also, so we came back in, had the special committee meeting, or the special commission meeting, that was about building projects and Spark. After that, the Spark Committee met again, our local one, trying to come up with some alternate projects if we need them, to prioritize what projects we thought we needed to do. In the meantime, I submitted a copy of a plan for an alternate project just through email to the state people with the question of, is this how we may be looking at alternate projects if we don't do our building project, or if it gets cut back, is this how I need to submit it? Should I go through the portal? Just trying to get some answers from them. Really didn't get much of an answer there, other than we'll schedule a meeting with you to talk about it. So that meeting has now been scheduled for 4 o'clock today, which does absolutely no good for you guys this morning. But they indicated in their response, the initial one that came from Aaron Daly, who is was our technical advisor. So there are some potential compliance concerns with supporting the alternate proposed project using CRF. Perhaps we can schedule a meeting to follow up. So I have that meeting to follow up with them today. We did, as the committee sat in here and kind of prioritized with all of our plans what we thought we needed to get done or what was most important. Also, I would like, before we get out of here today, for the commission to appoint someone to be my alternate on dealing with the state on these Spark funds, because Doug is no longer willing to do that, and he's been the alternate. And I really need another person that can have contact with them, because the way their state committee's set up, the only one they'll accept any correspondence from, and the ones they want to deal with are the primary contact and the alternate. And at the moment, I don't have an alternate because Doug has resigned from that.
Are you gonna speak with them and see if remodels instead of,
I can bring up everything we've talked about and try to get some answers. It's not been easy to get answers on a lot of this stuff. We get a lot of, well, maybe, and we'll have to see how it goes, and we don't know how the feds will approach all of it. And we do have, I think, a list of what we thought were priorities that the committee talked about. And please, committee members, jump in if I'm going down the wrong path here, but what I wrote down the other day, we talked quite a bit about the fuel project, where our county vehicles would be using county tanks and pumps for their fuel, and there's a lot better tracing who's using it and when, and it cuts down on contact with the public, which is what relates it to this. But after we talked about all that, what I wrote down anyway was our number one priority was still the health department, if we can get that project through. Number 2 was the fuel system that I submitted a copy of for them to review. Then we had some additional projects that Jackie talked about, which was next in line with our priorities. And then finally, if there was still money left after that, looking at grants for other entities within the county for them to use some of the money for their projects, which could be schools, could be cities, dealing with on this, but we thought that would be a way to pass on whatever we had available after those days. Is that pretty well it, what we,
And there was one project, the health software.
okay, I didn't get that one in there. And I don't remember where did that come in our list of priorities?
Kind of like between 2 and 3.
So health department software.
So David, do we need to have a special meeting after your meeting today in order to get the ball rolling, or what's your thoughts? Or do you want to wait and see?
I think probably at this point it'd be best to let me get through that meeting this afternoon, because I truthfully don't know if I'll get any answers from them today or not.
Right.
It's kind of a waste to schedule a special meeting if then we don't know anything and just have to cancel it. I would, if possible, like to have someone appointed to that alternate position and be available to that meeting this afternoon. And we've talked about it, and Kevin, I think, was willing to sit in on the meeting, weren't you, or Chris?
I am. I don't know that I'd be your best alternate just for being the busy time, but.
Yeah.
I seen your hand raised there, Jack. I thought you was volunteering.
Appointing finger.
That's fine, Chris.
It just requires a lot of time, I know, and I know David's poured a lot of time into these projects.
Yeah, most of my time has been the actual reporting forms and tracking everything. I didn't spend a lot of time on trying to develop projects or get involved with that part of it much, but, and I've got another report due in 9 days, I think, from now. That's our, we've got to report again everything we already turned in on the new form, which most of that I can copy and paste, and then do additional report on things we've had from August through September. So I'm going to be working on that. But I do think the biggest thing on having an alternate available is then when they communicate with us from the state level, they will send it to me and whoever the alternate is, and it gives us another point of contact with them. And I really do think that, like the meeting this afternoon, we should have at least 2 people sitting and listening to what they say, and I don't know that 3 or more would hurt. I hate to get too many people at once, because I'm not sure how well they're gonna deal with like a whole room of us. But if we could have at least 2 or 3 from the committee, I think it would be a good thing to hear what's being said and maybe come up with some questions that I wouldn't think of.
So is Chris okay? You're okay not picking you?
I would actually, I would nominate Chris.
So that'll be my motion to have Chris appointed to the, as an alternate to the Spark Fund Committee. That's my motion.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye. And Dave, just one last thing on that. The biggest struggles that we're having, the Spark Committee is having, is trying to reach certain deadlines that the state or federal government's required, right?
Well, there's, right now, the way everything is listed, these projects have to be completed by December 30th of this year.
Right.
If you're looking at something like a building, whether it's remodeling, building new, or whatever it is, I think the way I've understood them is it has to be operational and occupied by that date in order to qualify for the funding.
Right.
There is some exception if you've got some parts of a project where you have equipment ordered and the initial order date would have it in time to complete, and then there's a delay that's beyond our control. There is a little extension. So if something, say, came in January 10th instead of December been frustrating on getting any answers, and we're dealing with a state committee. They're subject to federal regulations, and some of it, I think, is they don't really know the answers because they're not sure what the feds are gonna do.
Right.
I mean, they have a set of guidelines, but things that are questionable, they're trying to tell us what they think is okay. And some of their comments are, well, you're probably gonna be subject to a federal audit if you do that, so we're not sure it's a good idea. Well, if it is a project that's okay, a federal audit to me is no big deal because we'll get audited, we follow their rules and everything's okay. Now, is it a pain to go through? Sure.
But in the day, our number one priority is the health department, right? I mean, can we all agree on that, or no?
Well, that was what the committee, and there were numerous other projects that we submitted, but the one with the health department building is the one that was more in question. So I think we're looking at, we still have the other projects that were already submitted. It's when we get down to the money for that and possible alternates that the health is still our priority on that list. That sound right, everyone? And I think, depending on how much of that project we do or count on having done by then, it could be even a thing that maybe half of what we submitted or 2/3 of it would go toward that project, which still leaves us some money left for these other projects. You know, if we didn't do like an EOC part of it and hardening of that, it's gonna cut our costs down on what would be submitted to this and free up some funds for other things. So I think that's kind of an option we're looking at right now too.
And I'll just say that the area on aging went through that earlier this year where they received, here's your $1 million, I need you to spend this by this deadline. And what a horrible way to do different organizations, is just to hand them money and say, I need it all obligated by then, or you lose it. And so, it looks like all 105 counties are getting ready to go through that as well, so hopefully we'll make some good decisions and get some answers on what we want. And thanks for the hard work for everyone on the SWAT committee for that.
So I don't know, I mean, committee members, other comments, things we need to talk about with the commission today?
I don't know anything else. I think you presented it to them just like we spoke about at the meeting and our priorities. Jack, do you have anything?
Now, there's ideas out there, the clock's ticking, and I think, we've talked about the health department part, and it's like, David said, what are they thinking up there on their end, and the time frame keeps going. What are they gonna allow and not allow? Everybody agrees that, I think we can talk about whether, if we purchase it, will the remodel be approved? That's the question. Hopefully some answers come soon.
It's all related to, it's supposed to be related to COVID
Yeah.
problems, which, you know, I guess I don't make a decision, but I see the health department being undersized as big because of COVID. I mean,
And yes, I think some of the hesitation from the state level is that we're looking at something that is a permanent structure, long-term use. If it was something temporary, like renting office space, I don't think they'd even be questioning it, because that could be just during the pandemic and then we go back to normal. But we've told them as part of that, there is no office space in Linn County that would handle what we're wanting to do here, to put our whole health department in. So, you know, we think it should get approval, but again, we don't have all the answers, we don't know.
So if you get told no today, or another leads you down the road for a few more days, are we gonna scrap that project and go on to the others? Because there's not going to be a deadline, there's a deadline out there as we know it right now, 30 December, and scrap the health department issue and just move on? Or
Well, and I think even if it's not completely scrapped, and Mike, you might want to jump in on this part, but we talked about the part of the, if we were to purchase a property and remodel and add on, the part that we could get done between now and the end of the year was probably going to be considerably less than the total we submitted. Is that
phase project that was initially discussed was the hardening of an EOC and all that. That's not possible, but I think I shared some scheduling, but if you purchase the property, you're gonna spend some money remodeling the existing footprint of the property, $50,000. You're gonna shell another building beside it, which is possible in that timeline. It's pretty iffy to finish some of that space beside it for additional room required for that health department, but definitely not hardening the space of, you know, concrete walls, CMU walls, suspended slab, you know, those make ductwork penetrations and all that challenging. So that's, they don't extend that. There's been, I think, 2 pieces of legislature have been denied. They're not gonna, nobody's gonna cooperate with anybody. I'm sure we're all gonna hold hands on November 5th to get something accomplished, but it just doesn't look like anything's gonna happen.
I guess probably where I'm going with part of that is, I think even if we go on with that project, there's still money available to put toward the next project on the list, which in our priorities would be the fuel system. If that's agreeable to the commission to pursue that.
What you gotta keep in mind about this funding is it can be amended and used, but you've got to have it spent by December 30th, right? And if it's a long lead time project such as fuel or remodeling something, or, you know, you've got to, those are the things that have got to go right now. And then if you're going to amend it and buy sanitary supplies for whomever, or things like that, those things can be purchased by the end of the year. You still have time to amend the spark funding, but these long lead time items got to be decided on.
At some point, though, you got, if you're not gonna get an answer, or you get the answer you don't wanna hear, then you just gotta move on with it. That's my point, so.
Well, we've already pushed that meeting hear from them like twice, and now we're back to 4 o'clock again today, which we have met with them and found some direction, but not everything we're looking for. But I don't think it makes any sense not to fund another project, be it
Right.
fuel or whatever.
And I think some of that 4 o'clock one today is going to be discussing the fuel project, probably more than it is the building. I'm not betting we're gonna get any more advice from them on the building. I think they talked about that last week and they
When we were,
left it.
the 3 of us were in that conversation, and you know, anything we do, we want to make sure it's transparent and auditable. But I just almost assured you that you'd be in an odd situation. And that's not concerning whatsoever. The concerning part of it is the federal treasury steps back and says, wait a minute, you guys are going to fund that out of a pocket, and it's an unbudgeted expense. You don't want that. So.
Yeah.
Well, I did do some research over the weekend. I read the Capital Journal article and talked about other counties that have buildings, and they're all in exactly the same boat.
Sure.
Exactly the same boat. We are on the construction of a new facility situation. On the fuel side of it, I mean, we know it's been approved one other place, so, you know, they may have concern, hey, you're going to get an audit, but like David said, that's not a bad thing. I mean, yeah, it's going to take some time if they choose to audit us, but, you know, I don't know if that means we did something wrong. They're just wanting to make sure that we did what we said.
And they may have put the rules in place, not openly saying they don't want buildings, but realizing that you'll be very challenged in doing so, so maybe they won't.
And I think it's important too, Commissioners, that we do have some other projects to go along with that, because that fuel project would be less dollars, and we do have other projects that could, you know, take the place of whatever, and they're products for
Yeah.
the community.
I'm just, and that's exactly what I'm saying, Kevin. If this doesn't happen today, and it doesn't look good for the health department, just move on. Let's fund all the other projects we can and not lose the money on it, because it's our,
I think right now we have 5 other proposals, and some of those are durable equipment that could go out around the county, and some of that was grants to schools, municipalities, and things like that. But I think there are some viable projects that will work that can back all this up. So we're trying to keep, depending on what we hear today, we're trying to keep where we can keep as much of the timeline as we can.
yeah.
So we have plenty of other projects to support to you guys, so you guys can look at them and understand them and say yes or no.
Yeah, and the health department's not gonna go away as far as the conditions that they're in. It's gonna have to be redone sooner or later, as well as the ambulance barn that's falling down in Lacine. So,
And we
those are
have
two
a,
things that's gonna come.
we have a developer in Pleasant that owns a piece of property. I think that he would be willing to work with us and, you know, on whatever their regulations are. I think, I can't speak for him, but I think he would. But I, you know, and like I'd stated in that special meeting last week, I've did my research. I've talked to a few owners that supplies fuels to the county, and I'm against the fuel program, so. I don't know if you guys heard that last week or not, but I'd be against it.
Okay. I'd have to hear more on it, yeah.
And your
We're not ready to vote on it anyway,
Your
so.
concerns, share your concerns, so you.
Oh, I just hate to see us competing against somebody that already sells us fuel in the county. And I talked to one guy just because I'm very ignorant on the subject, so I talked to him, and he had stated that he does give us a little bit of a discount. And then, you know, I don't know a whole lot about like all the details, but I would think it would be something else that the road and bridge guys would have to, you know, manage more rather than.
Light on that topic, because we looked that up after that meeting last time. We ran some numbers with some local fuel vendors to determine what kind of cost savings we'd be looking at on bulk fuel across the county. Now, and I understand that we already have bulk fuel, okay? So just to be fair, kind of to give a baseline with that, right now, we have bulk fuel in Parker, but we don't go to One Stop. We have bulk fuel in Lacine, but we don't go to MFA. We have bulk fuel at the park, we don't go to Star. We have bulk fuel at the landfill, we don't go to Big D's. We have bulk fuel in Blue Mound, we don't go to Ralph's. We have bulk fuel in Pleasanton, we don't go to Katy. So my point is that we've been obviously looking at what's best for the county. When you look at bulk fuel delivery with the project that we're talking about, between the unleaded and the diesel, approximately, I'm happy to give you the actual numbers. We went off of last Thursday's pricing, but if you took that price and spread it out over a whole year, you're looking at approximately $70,000 in savings. So, over purchasing from a retail vendor per year.
So when you talk about we already have that fuel, do we use it for just big equipment, trucks? I mean, what do we use it for?
Diesel, yeah. Yeah.
Because we have like the sheriff's department, we have Jackie's guys, they all use, you know, gasoline. Do we have gasoline, or is it's just diesel?
We have a little bit of unleaded, but no, not for the most part, that's just purchased retail. But that's where that number comes in at with the savings. The other thing, I mean, you've got the overwhelming benefit of the electrical outage issue, that retail pumps cannot run off generators. It's not allowed. So we have an ice storm, we have an electrical outage, we have no fuel for unleaded. We have no source for that. The project accommodates for some of that as well. But when it comes down to the cost savings to the county, that was a big question that the Spark Committee discussed, as well as I think we took from that special meeting. And so that's the numbers that we kind of came through for a rough estimate for a year.
All right, well, thanks for you doing all your research. I just think if we take from any more local, I think it's just gonna hurt them. So that's the only reason I'm against it, so. But
Well, I think what we're doing, we're gonna listen to this, get some feedback from this meeting at 4 o'clock, and then, we're gonna wait till next Monday to make a decision on this. We can't, can we?
I think we're really pushing around. By the time we get done with the 4 o'clock meeting today, it's gonna be after business hours. If we need to get the commission back together, I wouldn't go as far as setting a meeting right now, because we don't know where we're gonna be with this. But is there a time in the next couple of days you guys would be available if we want to set one where I can just get the notice out and set it and go?
Tuesday or Wednesday for me, then I'll be back up and speak at the.
Okay, so either day, anytime?
Yeah.
Yeah, anything. I think everything.
What kind of schedule are you guys looking at?
We got a meeting at State Hospital. I might have to stay.
Save me a order.
I just beat y'all to it. I beat y'all to it. believe me, in the last 6 months, I've been wondering. I'm trying to look for the, I believe it's in the morning, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 to 10, I can do before that or after that. And it actually is a Zoom meeting because it's they're not gonna meet because of the COVID, so.
I have a
But I do
meeting
have
at
to
8.
attend it.
I have a meeting at 8 o'clock on Tuesday and
Okay,
Wednesday
so
too.
would sometime tomorrow afternoon, if we need to schedule.
Late morning would work for me too.
Late morning or afternoon. How about committee members, anybody available that need to come in tomorrow afternoon maybe? Okay,
Can you send an updated, like an email of just kind of how your meeting goes today?
sure. Okay. So after 3, would you get Jessica involved? So maybe we could do like an end of day tomorrow, if we need to schedule something, if that would work. But if that's okay with everyone, I will say I'll set in on this meeting at 4 o'clock today, hopefully with 1 or 2 others there, can help answer some questions, send an update on what we find out at that, and just go ahead and make a schedule one then for some point late tomorrow, if we feel that we need a special meeting at that point.
Yeah.
And we may get in this one today and decide that they don't like any of our plan, and we don't have to have one right now, but we just have to see how it goes.
And David, just for clarification, today's meeting is not necessarily health department information.
I don't think so. I mean, I would like to ask them some questions on that again, so I mean, I'll try to, but I think their main purpose was the fuel project that I submitted, and they immediately said they could see some problems, we need to schedule a meeting, and I'm not sure what problem they're seeing when that type of project's already been approved before, unless they're just thinking about timing. So I think that one is the one why they wanted to meet with us today, but I would like to ask them some more about our health project and see where we can go.
Anybody else got anything else? No?
We got 55 minutes to be to Cadmus, Kansas.
We're gonna take a recess and, we will reconvene in Cadmus and at 12:30, right?
You need to go up there on a Friday night when we're not in a COVID deal. You wanna?
They party there?
Every Friday night.
Really?
Well, is it every Friday night? There was a YouTube sensation, went up there, 86-year-old woman does, Miss Robbins was doing.
Like dancing stuff? I need to learn.
You would be surprised if you reviewed that email where they're flipping her over her shoulder between the legs. It was some pretty big
I'm
deal
looking for
on
dancing
the
lessons for my
swing
wife.
dancing network there.
So are you guys ready to recess until then?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we recess until 12:30 in Cadmus for the fence, what's it, the fence,
Viewing.
viewing. So that's my
Second.
motion. Move and second, all in favor? Aye.
Last couple times I've attended that little get-together up there, there was probably 75 people.